What do you think is going to be the reason why a company is able to scale faster compared to others with AI agents? Because everyone has the same agents, everyone has the same access. So, what will determine speed?
Now it's not about the technology per se, it's about feedback loop, it's about network effects, it's about proprietary data.
What do you think about content for startups?
I think it's mandatory.
Really?
I think it's very rarely you're gonna be in an industry that having a good personal branding or a good reach is gonna play against you. I understand founders paying really well because of my content.
Yeah.
Because I've been posting for so many years.
Yeah.
And I know what they struggle with. Became a top voice in VC and business in Australia. And I was like, oh wow, this is actually taking off. And then I started this newsletter and I said, let's see if I can get like 300 people. I'll be very happy. I think it's a pretty good number. And I had 4,500 subscribers in the newsletter in like less than a year. Think about it. 9 of 10 startups fail, I think. That's like the public data. And you look at that and you say, you know what? I'll be a founder. There's something about you that already like super confident and saying, I'll be the 1 out of 10 that will do well.
Yeah.
And this is the founders that we want.
And you said that a pitch deck does not necessarily get people investing now. What does? What is it that people can do to be better at landing investment?
That's a great question. I think that
Oh my God, I'm excited. How do you feel?
so excited. I'm ready.
Okay, so I'll give you a bit of context before we begin. This used to be a Level Up Lab podcast where I was recording thought leadership content for business and personal development. And along the way, I realized that the audience, which was mostly South Asian young entrepreneurs, they needed more than just content. So especially the ones who were in Melbourne, they were experiencing a sense of loneliness as being an entrepreneur. And they also needed access to the startup network in Australia. So they were basically on the fringes of the startup ecosystem, but they needed a way to get into it. And that content alone was not helping them. Despite doing a series with Sangeeta, despite doing a few other events on personal branding, that alone was not helping them. So I decided to make this a pathway for the community into the startup ecosystem through giving them access to knowledge and networks via content and events. And it's now a community of South Asian entrepreneurs. We meet regularly, and more than me, they were actually excited for this podcast. They really were looking forward to understanding about venture capital and private equity from you. And they were like, eventually, can you please get her for a roundtable too? We'd like to speak to her as well.
Oh my God, of course.
Someday, yeah.
We can host in the office as well.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I always open the office for like community days.
Yeah.
So then I say, come and work with us for a full day. So then we open like 25 slots. You choose who is going to come. And then I host you for the day. We can do roundtables. We can do one-on-one sessions. I can host anything.
Now that you started talking about Antler and the cohort, let's start there. What is Antler's accelerator program about, and what do startups get when they join it?
Okay, let me explain why this is important as well. Why do we have? Because we are a VC firm. So that's how we make money. We make money by investing in companies and getting the returns from that.
Okay.
But we want to invest before anybody else. So we don't want to invest in companies that already have massive traction and they are already in the Series A stage. We want to go pre-seed. We want to even go before pre-seed. We want to go inception.
Why though?
Because it's all about the founder. And it gives us this leverage with our LPs as well. So when we pitch to LPs, that we raise capital, right? So funds have to raise capital. And then our whole job is to give really good investment opportunities and good returns for these LPs.
Okay.
The earlier we go, the more inflection point we have on founders.
Okay.
So once the company is up and running, I can say yes or no. Before the company is up and running, I can help them to get there. I can say, hey, you are the best person for this, but what if we look at this market instead of that market? Or what if we test these ICP instead of that? And so we can help much more, and then we can help them to shape the business into a company that is VC backable.
What do you think about founders being afraid of not having enough flexibility in that situation? So I remember speaking to a few of the people from the cohort and from my community, and they mentioned that they they are afraid of going to VCs because they feel like they will lose control over
I
the
hear this
startup.
all the time, and I'm not gonna say it's a crazy fear. It is a good fear. You should know who you're taking on board because investors are gonna be on your cap table for 7 years. So it should be somebody that you trust and you see value.
Okay.
You see that you have the same alignments in heart. You want to achieve the same things, but we don't take ownership of the business. So when we invest first, we take 12%. So they still have the majority,
Yeah, right.
shareholding in that. So, and we don't want people that we can control. We want people that we trust them to make decisions. They come to us if they need help.
Oh, so
That's the
you're
main
guiding
difference.
them.
Totally. So we're never gonna go to a company and be like, this business is horrible, but if you do that, we're gonna invest. It's like, this is our suggestion. You can take this because this is based on years of learning. And we've been seeing other businesses in this space doing this and succeeding. So this is our recommendation. Go ahead and try it out or not. We can also be wrong, and we want people that prove us wrong. We don't want people that say yes. We always talk about founders being open and being flexible, but sometimes them not being flexible is a really good thing as well. We trust them to make better decisions for their business than anybody else. That's why we invest in them.
Yeah, actually.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's like such a fine line between take our advice, but also have a strong conviction in what you're building.
Yeah.
And we trust that conviction is gonna get more investment, is gonna get more customers, is gonna attract better talent.
For sure. And so, where the people in venture capital obviously bring a lot of experience and a lot of insight with them. Where does your experience and insight come from? Give me a little backstory of you. Like, what have you done before this? How did you get into VC?
That's such a good question because I've been sitting on the other side of the table from so many different ways. So I started I always worked in startups.
Okay.
And always in the revenue marketing side of things. So my first job was in a startup, super small. I was employee number 3. And then when I was 21, I had these 15 people in my team that was reporting to me.
Wow.
And the startup was doing super well. We're selling to marketplaces. I was expanding to other markets. We're doing over $1 million in sales. So it was doing super well.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what I want to do. I never worked in corporate. I don't know how it is to work for a company that you need 6 levels of approval in order to do something. I just like to get things done.
Yeah.
So that's why the startups were so exciting for me. I would go to this first boss and I'll say, hey, I really want to implement this system. And he's like, do you know how to do it? I'm like, no. He's like, okay, do it. I'm like, oh my God, yes, thank you.
Yes.
So I'll spend the whole night on YouTube, learning how to implement that. And the next morning I would do it.
Wow.
So I think that trait really helped me to be like, it doesn't matter if I don't know how to do something, I'll figure it out. And this is what I look for in founders as well. So instead of looking for somebody that has a Harvard degree and is already all good to go, I want somebody that is resourceful, that they are going to figure things out as they go and they're going to learn really quickly. So that was my first experience. From there, I worked for a company called Mercado Libre, that is Latin America's biggest marketplace. The time that I was there, we're doing 1 sale per second in Brazil alone.
Wow.
And they were all over Latin America. We had thousands of employees. So I saw what a unicorn looks like from the inside.
Wow.
I saw what quality it looks like from the inside, but they still move super fast. Again, 1 level of approval if you want to run with an idea. Just test. If you find a problem, you run with a solution. That's what they had it everywhere in the office. Find the problem, on the solution.
Okay.
And just test things and fail fast. So if you have an idea, run with it, see how it goes, learn from it, do it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
But don't you think when startups go from a startup to a scale up, they eventually turn into a corporate? When does that corporate mindset or when does that corporate culture sit into a startup?
I think it is 100% cultural. It's not. It doesn't depend on how big the company is. It depends on what is the culture of the company. Because this company, right? It is listed on the NASDAQ. It's as big as it can get, and they still had this startup mentality. You could testings, you could make mistakes, and you had it's like move quickly. And because they move quickly, they just keep growing. Amazon would be the biggest competitor. They don't even have 1/3 of their market share in Latin America. They really struggle to get market share because this company is so good at the Latin American market that nobody else can get them.
Wow. So is it mainly about mindset, like the mindset and the culture of the company?
I would say it's 100% on culture, and culture relies on employees.
Yeah.
So it's all about hiring. Like, how can you hire people that have that drive, and they're good leaders?
The aspects that a startup founder sees in the employees while hiring them, is that something similar to what you see in founders when you're scouting for them?
100%.
Yeah.
So
What
we
is
look
it?
at their ability. Do you know, some people, you just want to be around them. They're like, they're magnetic. You want to be around them. Everything that they say sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
Every time that I talk to, there are some founders that every time I talk to them, there's something new happening in the company. Not because they're changing ideas and they're volatile, but it's just there's always something new. There's a new partnership, there's a new content, there's a new series, there's something new about them. And it just makes so interesting. You want to be around them.
Yeah.
When I see that, if I feel interested about them, if I feel this magnetism, other people feel as well. So the likelihood of them attracting the top talent is really high. Because imagine if you're a software engineer, you can work for Canva and make 300K, or you can work for a startup and make 100K. Why would you do that if it's not for the founder?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
It's not a rational decision.
Yeah.
People have bills to pay,
Yeah.
but they just see something in the founder, and they are fully sold on the vision. And if the founder doesn't have that, you're pitching with a pitch deck in the beginning, like you don't have much else. If you don't have that trust in yourself and in the vision that you have, investors won't see it. Your co-founder won't see it because again, this person can find a job that is paying 5 times more in the next day, and employees are not going to want to work for you. They want a more stable job.
So it's absolutely dependent on the founder's personality and mindset.
100%.
Wow. Okay.
Even if I pitch you the best idea here, but you look at me and you're like, Leila, I don't think you can build that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do it. But if I pitch something, you're like, I can see the fire. I want to be part of it. You will quit your job and you'll come on board.
Oh my God, I'm excited for you to meet the community. Almost every one of them is like that, but it's just good to be around that energy for sure.
Yeah.
So to break it down for everyone, can you tell me the model of how a VC works? Like, where do they get the funding from? How do they give it to founders? Like the back end of it.
Okay. So it starts with a thesis. So for our case, as I was explaining before, we say we're going to invest before anybody else. We are the best in the market to find talent and to find good ideas before they're even a company. Okay. So if you invest, and this is how we pitch to LPs, if you invest in us, this is what you're getting. You're getting companies before anybody else. We're getting better founders. We're getting better valuations because it's super early, and we can help them to grow much faster than they will do by themselves. Okay. So we pitch that thesis, and then we get people that give us money. And they're saying, hey, I trust you to make better investment decisions with this money that I would myself in an angel investing scenario, for example. Okay. So here's the money, and then we commit to investing the money into the best founders that we find. So Antler globally has 180,000 applications every year.
Whoa.
It's harder to get into Antler than like Harvard and MIT and all of those top universities combined. Yeah. So we have access to all of those founders. And then we spend 200 hours with them before we make any investment decisions. I understand my founders inside and out. You can get anyone from the Melbourne cohort and ask me their coffee order and like how they deal with stress and the name of their kids. I know them.
Wow. Okay.
And because of that, we can have clarity into making a decision before anybody else would.
How do you have those conversations where you're able to maybe understand that aspect of them, like the founders' backstories?
Yeah. And that's where the cohort comes very handy.
Okay.
They're there every day with me. So we have this cohort for 8 weeks where they come to the office every single day. We help them to validate ideas, to find a co-founder, and to move super quick. So we do the entire go-to-market together. We test the market. We have A/B tests every single week. We have sessions. This is the period of time that I don't do anything else. You're not going to see me in events. You're not going to see me doing anything else. Like, they own me. Like, I work for them 24/7.
Wow.
And I get them ready to pitch for the Antler, IC, and help them to get the first check. So we do everything from I have an idea to here's the pitch deck. How can I pitch to the overall Antler team?
Okay. So it's a very rigorous program.
Yes, it's so intense.
Yeah.
I literally, before sending an offer, I tell them, please talk to your friends and family before. Let them know what's happening. Because you're not going to be available for a few weeks. Like, this is the reality of it, right?
Yeah.
You're compressing 1 year of try and error into like 5 to 10 weeks. So it's going to be intense.
For sure.
But it's worth it.
Tell me about a success story from this.
Yeah. Can I tell you about like which type of companies are good for us? Because you're asking about the insight, and not every company is good for a VC. Actually, most companies shouldn't take VC money.
Why?
VC is for a very specific type of company that once they have the capacity to become a unicorn, and they're going to be global one day. So if the company cannot achieve at least $100 million in revenue, it's probably not a good fit for a VC.
So a scalable company.
Super scalable and super fast.
Oh, okay.
So let's say that you grow your business up to 15 mil valuation, and then you have an exit. That's a pretty good result for you, right?
Yes.
We fail. We make zero money. So the way that it works is that we have this power law. This is how every VC fund is structured.
Okay.
Let's say that I have $10 million to invest, and then I invest in 10 companies, $1 million each one.
Okay.
And then 8 of them fail,
Okay.
right? But one of them is a Lovable, and then returns $20 million.
Okay.
The entire fund made a profit,
Yes.
even though 8 companies failed.
Okay.
So it's kind of a weird concept, but it works. We already know that this is going to happen. We already know that some companies will fail. We know that some of them are going to break even, but 1 or 2 out of 30 that we invest are going to bring return to the whole fund. So that's why it's extremely risky.
Okay, fair. Okay, let's dumb it down a little for anyone who has no information about VC concepts. What is an exit?
Okay, so is either when you IPO, so you go public, or you get acquired by a bigger company.
Okay.
So these are the most common ones. There are different types of exits, but these are the most common ones. Is what we look for.
Okay.
So there's I don't know if you remember when Bumble done their IPO, that it was a female founder.
Yeah.
And she was holding her baby and like went public, and it was the whole thing. Like, this is what we want. With baby, without baby. Like, that's what we're looking for.
Okay, got it.
An IPO is an amazing result.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's an exit. And then it's the companies that are able to scale super fast that should take VC money.
Yes. For so many different reasons for that. But I never spoke to a company that never had a competitor. Likely, you have 10 competitors in Melbourne alone. Imagine nationally, imagine globally, right? So how can you win if your competitor is moving faster than you, taking market share, hiring better people, raising more money? So if you don't move fast, you are failing for a VC perspective. So a consultancy, for example, they wouldn't be for a VC. They can make enough money. They can be extremely rich, and that's all good. It's just not for a VC. So for a VC, it has to be a tech company, especially for us, incredibly scalable, and is replicable in other markets.
Replicable in other markets.
Yeah. So if you're extremely good for the Australian market, but no other market feels that pain, very unlikely that it's going to be a VC backable opportunity.
Right. Okay. Because it needs to be scalable on a global level.
Yeah, which is a problem that we don't have in Brazil. If you're extremely good and only in the Brazilian market, it's enough to make a big return because it's a market with 200 million people.
Right. Okay.
We don't have that in Australia. So if you're starting a company in Australia, which I think is such a flex, because like it's the best market to start a business. I'm so bullish in Australia.
Really?
People say like it's too small. Let's go to the US. You know how many millions of companies are in the US?
Yeah. Okay.
It's
Competition.
so competitive, and especially in the beginning that you're figuring things out. Imagine that you're in the US and you post something about a company that you're launching, and then in the next day you have like 10,000 people doing the same thing, and you're like, oh my God, all the pressure.
Yeah.
Here is like a little incubator. So you can make mistakes. You can figure things out as you go. And then once you figure things out, you say, okay, I have a really scalable business. My customers are obsessed with the problem, with the product. Now I'm going to go overseas.
Okay, you're kind of testing it in Australia, testing it in a smaller place before you expand.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And so Lovable was one such company, you said?
Yes.
Tell me about the story. How did you find them? What did you see in them? How were they during the cohort? And then how did they scale?
Lovable was a crazy story because they are the fastest growing company in the world. We know that for a unicorn company to become a unicorn company, it takes from 5 to 7 years historically. They became a unicorn in 18 months.
Wow.
And I guarantee you, we're going to see this happening more and more and more.
Why?
Companies go global from day one. AI is helping you to develop something super quickly. When I started my career in investment, I used to say, how far is a competitor from achieving what you have today in the product side? And they'll say like, oh, minimum 1.5 years. I'm like, cool. So if you raise capital now, nobody can catch us. That's not a reality anymore.
Yeah.
Anybody can build anything super quickly.
Yes.
So it is an advantage. It is a disadvantage at the same time. But Lovable took that super well. So they coded something, posted online, and went to sleep. And in the next day, it went nuts.
Oh.
So it was like, it was a very different unicorn story that you're normally going to see.
Okay.
But they just raised money, one check after another, and in 18 months was already a unicorn. So it was a massive success. We invested in week 2 or 3 that they existed. So it was a bit different. They were not part of the cohort. It was just, things were going so quickly, nobody could wait.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so how did you meet them? How did you find them? How did you find that founder?
So that's another advantage of Antler. We're everywhere. We're in 28 countries.
Yeah.
So we have locations all over the globe. So it doesn't matter where a founder is. We are there.
Okay,
We're going to find them. We're going to find them. So they're in the Nordics. They're part of the Nordics fund.
Okay.
So they already have previous relationships there. They called one of the LPs, and then it was pretty straightforward.
Okay. And tell me this. Now, what do you think is going to be the reason why a company is able to scale faster compared to others with AI agents? Because everyone has the same agents. Everyone has the same access now. So what will determine speed?
That's a great question. What we see with AI is that it grows really fast, but people get bored of the tools really fast as well. So there's no retention.
Okay.
So everybody, like, hey, I coded something. Do you want to check it out? It's like a photo app that makes you 10% prettier. You're like, sure, I will use it. A month later, are you still using it? Will you pay for it? Probably not. You're already using something different.
Right.
So now it's not about the technology per se. It's about feedback loop. It's about network effects. It's about proprietary data. So let's look at, I know it's not an AI company, but let's look at Facebook, for example. What is the moat? What is the value of Facebook? It's a social media. It's not that hard, is it?
Yeah.
So like, it's just a website.
Yeah.
What is the moat there? Is the data. They have access to more data than anybody else. Right? Okay. Like they know our customer behavior. They know that where you go, which type of pages you like, and what time do you navigate those pages. So they can predict future purchases. This is a data company. That's super valuable. We cannot get that anywhere else in the internet. So this is what we look for, is like, what is the moat? And because it's so early, they normally don't have the moat fixed, but we're like, we can see where the moat is going to come from.
Can you explain the term moat a little more?
Yeah. You know, it comes from the physical moat in castle. So, you know, when you have a castle and you have that like water that separates that from the street for safety, That's pretty much what it means. So like, how can we keep competitors away? What do you have that other people are not going to be able to enter straight away? So that's kind of the concept.
Okay.
And when we ask that, what we want to hear is like, what do you have that nobody else has?
Okay. Like an unfair advantage?
Unfair advantage.
Okay. Got it. Understood. And so I remember reading an article that you wrote on Substack, which said that young entrepreneurs have an unfair advantage or a moat over professionals with better credentials. Where does that come from? What do you think young entrepreneurs have over someone with higher credentials?
That was the biggest slap on my face in my entire career.
Why?
Because when I started at Antler, like less than 2 years ago, we used to say, we're looking for people with 10 to 15 years of experience in the sector because they're probably more likely to win the sector. They already have the connections. They understand the sector inside and out. They know the pain really well. They're going to be the best founders. I still don't think that is wrong. But now there's this new profile founders that is like 18 to 20 years old, grew chronically online, extremely hungry, don't want to work for anybody else.
Yeah.
They're going to spend their whole night figuring things out.
Yeah.
And they cannot be stopped.
Yes.
So I was saying no to them. And I was like, come back later. But now we came to a point that like, I have to invest in them. They're really good.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. Haber, I think you met him. He has a company called Polar Bear. And he was part of the last cohort that we had. We've done the co-founder matching for him. He is like a classic story, like an Antler success story. So he came to a hackathon that I produced in June last year.
Okay.
And it was like a bougie hackathon. Then we got a house in YaarE Valley.
Wow.
And we got a private chef, a private driver. I spent my whole budget for the whole cohort in that. I was praying that would go well.
Be a success though.
Thank God it worked well. And we stayed in a house for 2 days, just coding and spending time together. We had 110 applications. I got the top 10 and we spent this time together. And Habo was one of them. So when he came back, he met Percy there. That was his co-founder. Came back and they worked in this company together that is called Polar Bear. And Polar Bear is basically an app that helps students to get things done faster, to understand faster what they have to study and have better results, especially in VCE.
Okay.
So that was kind of the first market. He has crazy distribution. He was posting videos about VCE on TikTok and he had like almost 1 million views. So that was something about him, right? He is not a professor. He's not a teacher. He doesn't have a degree in behavioral science, but he knows his ICP so well.
How?
Because he's been talking to them every day.
Okay.
He was one of them not too long ago because he's 20 now.
Right.
And just because he was posting on TikTok, he saw, this type of video converts better than that one. And when I talk about this topic, people are really interested. What if I start charging them to do this? People are paying for it. He had an understanding about the space that we haven't seen anybody talking about before. That was what I call the earned understanding.
Yeah. So earned understanding is basically when a founder is close to the situation, is it?
Yes. So it's not only I studied in the books or I saw it in my previous companies. Like I feel that every single day. There was another founder that I mentioned on the article as well, Sam Rogers. And when I talked to him, he was 18 and he's making this, we call the drone, the cowboy drones.
Okay.
So he is moving cattle with this automated drone. And the first question that I asked was like, Sam, how are you going to sell to farmers? Like the vision that I have of a farmer, and correct me if I'm wrong, is like this 6-year-old guy that is used to do the same things like for generations. They're just repeating the same process. And then you go there, you're 18. Like, how do you see this working for you? And he was like, Leila, it's such an unfair advantage because they don't see me as a threat. When I go there and I ask for advice or, hey, can I see your operations? They just open the doors and they are so open to talk to me. And then I show what I'm creating and I already have their trust. And I'm like, that's amazing. And what do you know about farming that I don't? Because, you're 18. How does that work for you? And I was genuinely asking because I wanted to learn. And he was like, well, I have 18 years of experience in farming. My dad is a farmer. I grew up in a farm.
Okay.
I know how the process works. Let me tell you what happened this morning. And then he gave me an example of like how difficult it was to move the cattle in the morning. And I was like, this is amazing. I never heard anybody talking about a problem with this like earned understanding, because this is his life. This is what he does every day. And the same was for Habo. When we were asking why you're not talking to parents, or like what do parents think about it in an IC, so like super, formal environment. He said, nobody cares about the parents. Like the parents are not going to use the platform. They don't care what they use. They just care that we get stuff done.
Fair.
It's not wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cute. What do you think about, like you mentioned Harbor, he started with, he has a great distribution. And lately I've noticed the more you're able to reach people, the better your startup performs somehow. What do you think about content for startups?
I think it's mandatory.
Really?
I think it's very rarely you're going to be in an industry that having a good personal branding or a good reach is going to play against you.
Yeah.
I can't think of any example of like, this is an industry that you shouldn't show up as a founder.
Yeah. True, yes.
And this is what we always say. If you have to pick between make your investor happy and make your customers happy, it's always the customer. Because if your customers are happy, investors will follow.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that makes
so
sense.
if you build trust with people, even let's say that you pitch an idea now to me and I'm like, I love this idea, but nobody else loves it. We both fail.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you pitch me an idea and I'm like, okay, let's see what your customers say. Can you try this ICP and this ICP? And then you go to market and you find out that people love that. They're willing to pay for it. They trust you. That's enough proof for us as investors.
Okay. So do you think it's... Yeah, of course. So you know what happened recently is I noticed that everyone who was starting to build something or starting a startup of their own, before beginning it, like in uni, they'd be very against LinkedIn. Like, LinkedIn is really show-offy. I don't want to be on it.
Cringe.
Yeah. And then suddenly one day when they're building something, I see a post from them every single day of the week. And so they start only when they have begun working on a business, begun working on a product. But do you think that's a decent enough approach, or is it important to have a personal brand first before you launch something?
That's a great question. I don't think you're ever ready. You have to do it now.
Yeah.
And there's this concept of building in public, right? It's like, hey, I built this over the weekend. Can you use it? Hey, actually, this is getting traction. This is what's happening now. Hey, we're talking to investors now. This is how you can approach us. I think that's very positive.
But there are some people who are afraid of failure. Like, I used to experience this too, where I'm like, if I'm putting my work out there, this is not my final work. Like, I may pivot in the future.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to fail publicly. So it is a little intimidating. Have you felt that? How do you suggest navigating?
Totally. But like, think about it. 9 of 10 startups fail, I think. That's like the public data. And you look at that and you say, you know what? I'll be a founder. There's something about you that already like super confident and saying, I'll be the 1 out of 10 that will do well.
Yeah.
And this is the founders that we want.
Yeah.
So when I talk about the numbers on Antler, I never say apply and you're 100% going to succeed. We say there's 5,000 people applying Australia alone. We're going to select 150 tops. We're going to work with them for 10 weeks. We're not going to invest in all of them. We're going to invest in a portion of them. And even on the ones that get investment, probably just 1 out of these like 10 or 30 will become a unicorn. How do you feel about that?
Wow.
And there's some that are like, that sounds great. I'm this one. I'm like, that's the person that we want to invest in. So with that being said, do they have self-doubt every single day? I never met a founder that is always doing well, ever. They have like a good day, maybe a good hour, and then it goes down again. I feel that if you're really true to yourself and you know you're building something that you care about, you're more confident doing so. With that being said, you're never going to feel fully ready.
But don't you think being too attached to the idea is also dangerous?
Totally. That's why failing public is not that bad. So
Yeah,
what?
so what? Yes. And it's only when people are okay with failure or they build failure as a muscle that they're able to be founders because they're
I think
not
this is so
afraid.
important.
Yeah.
I had someone telling me this recently, like, do you get excited to fail or to make mistakes or to go through hardship? And I'm like, no, I hate going through hardship. I want to have the best life, great days every day. But
Everyone.
that's bad. So
Yeah.
if you go through something bad and you're like, wow, what an amazing opportunity to grow and learn from this,
Yeah.
it changes your whole life. It's an exercise that we have to do for the rest of our lives, right? One day I'm going to say that. The next day I'm like, oh gosh, why things are so hard? But that's the muscle that we have to keep exercising.
Yeah, for sure. And I realized that taking the emotion out of it kind of helps. I mean, I don't know if this is the way everyone works, but for me, I feel like at this point, I've failed so many times that even successes make me feel like there's no emotion in it. So I'll give you an example. I was starting this business with a friend of mine, and she's a very emotional person and someone who's not, she hasn't done businesses before. This was one of her first few. And so we started off, and then there was a tiny success. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, okay, next, move on. And she goes, yay, we have to celebrate this. Let's drink to it. So I feel like after a point, the emotion kind of goes out of it. But do you think that's a good thing? Because then motivation also reduces, or I don't know if motivation reduces. But do you think taking emotion out of successes and failures is good or not?
If you're a very logical person, I think it makes sense for you to write down all the things that go well as well. So then when you're having a bad day and you're feeling like I am failing, my business is not good, I'm not good enough, you have the list and you're like, oh, actually, like I closed an investor, I closed a partnership for my podcast, or I grow my following by X, Y, and Z. I think that helps to keep you grounded. And you have so many lows. When you have a high, celebrate it. Like, you know. So when I talk to founders, they do the same thing. They're like, oh yeah, we got this customer for $1 million. Yeah, so now we need one for 2 million. I'm like, yes, you do, but can we celebrate today? Like today's a good day.
Oh, yes. You bring the emotion there.
Yeah. And I want to be the person as well that they look for when they're having a bad day. As well as when they are having a good day. Like I thrive on that. And this is where I think like it really builds trust.
For
So
sure.
when they're feeling low, when they're feeling lonely, the way that you said that your community feels, they get that as well. And then they come to the office and they know I'm going to be there for them. And I'm going to be, you know, like making jokes or take them for coffee. And hey, you want to complain for half an hour? I have 30 minutes in my calendar. Let's go for a walk and just complain.
Oh my God,
I
that's
want
so
that.
sweet. So you focus on building genuine connections with people. And that's how, do you think, I've recently actually noticed this, that business thrives on relationships. What is your point of view?
Totally. Like it's all relies on people, right? When you buy from someone is because you trust them. When you're friends with someone is because you want to be around them. If you invest in someone is because you trust what they're building. So it's all about people in the end of the day. So even understanding like founder psychology helped me a lot on how can I have those conversations and how can I get the best out of them. I can be super rude and just get them, you know, in a panic mode, or I can be very approachable and have them actually opening up to me in a way that they feel comfortable. There's no advantage of doing the other approach.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think about people who find it difficult to be social though? Like they're mostly introverts, but they have this energy of wanting to build something. How can they navigate a business ecosystem which is built on relationships?
Yeah, that's for us to adjust, not for them to adjust. This is how I see it as an investor. So if I expect that a technical founder is going to show up in the same way that a commercial founder, I'm failing them. I'm not going to see them in what they're good at. I'm just going to see what's lacking in them. And of course, I'm using the technical and commercial. That is the most traditional one. But it can be a commercial person that is not as outgoing, right? But just for simplicity, I'm using those terms. But a technical person, let's say that you have a team with 2 technical people and their solution is highly technical and they sell to other technical people as well. Do they need to be super outgoing? Not
Maybe
really.
not, yeah.
So I don't think that actually hurts the business. However, if they're 2 highly technical people building a B2C strategy that they need to be out and about on social media, in events, that can probably play against them. But I think we should understand all the different personalities. I'm actually writing an article about that, like the 6 different personalities the founders have and what's good and bad about them and how to fix not to fix the bad side, but like this is something I have to be aware. So for example, commercial people, right? That would be like you and me. We can get distracted because we say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No.
You say yes to every single event.
Yes.
But sometimes the event is not bringing you any results, but you're like, I need to be there and I want to say yes. Are you getting too distracted and not getting things done?
Yeah.
So that's something not to change, but to be aware of. So then you can work better with that.
Choose things that are aligned with you more.
Yeah. And I can see that so clearly now when I work with people. I'm like, I know where you're going to struggle with and I know how to help you. I know how to give you feedback that is in a way that is productive and not distracted to you, you know? And there are some other founders that they need direct feedback. Otherwise, they don't perform well. That's how they like to receive information.
Yeah.
So it's been life-changing. I think I'll be a better friend, a better mother after, not a mom yet. But I think I work so much with people. My entire work is to help people and work with them every single day. So it definitely helps me to understand the different personalities.
For sure. Can you walk us through some of the personalities though? Like what are the 6 personalities?
Yeah, so I have the technical and the commercial. That is like the most basic ones. I have one that is the researcher. I have one
What is the researcher?
It's like a PhD in neuroscience.
Okay.
You know, and we have heaps of them in the cohort. We have heaps of PhD in the cohorts. They really struggle with commercialization, for example. So, and they go so deep into the idea, like you said before, but this is not ready yet. But this is not perfect yet. I cannot talk to anybody about it. Versus like the young founder, they'll be like, I have nothing to lose. I'm just starting my career. I'm learning. Let's ship everything. And then one of them does super well.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are some of the personalities that I'm exploring.
Okay. That's nice. And this thing that you mentioned about researchers struggling with selling their products. I was recently at Sarah's Startup Tank event. And there was this founder, I forgot his name, but he was building something. It was building a very technical product, but like a scientifically technical product. And this was one person I met at RMIT. So I used to MC at RMIT at a lot of events, and he was in the audience there. So when I met him, I'm like, hey, wow, from a researcher, from a PhD student, you become a founder now. And he's like, yeah, I'm pitching today. He was super excited for it. But when he went onto stage, it was very difficult for him to communicate his idea into the right words for the VC sitting there. So he had a really tough time, and eventually Sarah stepped in and she helped him out there. But he was the one person out of everyone there who did not get a meeting after the event. So that was really heartbreaking. And what do you suggest for founders like that? What can they do? Where can they go?
I'll tell you the best thing for them to do, and it's going to be so painful for them. Test different pitches with different audiences and record yourself and watch it back. It's so bad. Have you ever watched yourself? Like, do you watch the records out? It's so bad. It's confronting. But they have to do it. So there's one of our founders, Ben, that he gave this tip to the new cohort that we had. He came there as a speaker and he was saying, I have a 30-second pitch and a 1-minute pitch and a 6-minute pitch and an 8-minute pitch.
Wow.
And I recorded all of them, not on my phone. I actually bought those those timing things so then he can stop and start. So then he can see how well he can explain about the problem very quickly. But this is something that we do a lot throughout the cohort as well. I always thought, what can I help a technical founder with if I'm not technical?
Yeah.
But actually such a superpower because English is my second language, same as you. So I get super complex things and I put in a very simple way to understand.
Okay.
So it's actually such a good fit that I didn't expect. So they come to me and they explain something that is super complex. I'm like, okay, let's go back from the beginning. What is quantum computing? Like, let's start there.
Let's start there. Yes, I mean, if he started that way and he gave it that way to the VC sitting there, maybe they would have been able to understand it better. I remember, I think there were a few people who were asking him questions also, but he did not have the right words to communicate it.
That is just like this repetition muscle. He has to put the reps in. And I always say that when you are in a network event, you see how interesting the idea is based on people's reaction. So are you explaining the best possible way? So if you ask me, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I work for a global VC that works in pre-seed to Series A from inception. The first check takes 12. It's just too complex for some people. But if I say, oh yeah, working early stage tech investing, they're like, oh, which type of early stage tech you invest? Do you invest in every technology? Is there any particular sector? That's a great question. This is a much better conversation starter than just hit them with, these are the returns that we're looking for in 5 to 7 years. So this is what people have to test out as well. And it always starts with the first 1 minute.
Right.
And this is the funny thing. The more complex the idea is, but the more you understand about it, the easier it is for you to explain about it. You just have to learn how to do it better. So, when I was talking about the moat and I was like, oh, this is where it comes from. It's because it's so natural for me. I understand this inside and out. So I can give examples. I can think of easier way of explaining that. But there are some other things that I don't have a deep understand on that I would just look for the textbook definition. And it's just not going to create this relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Why did you choose getting into VC over working in a startup?
Yeah, I worked for hip startups and I was raising capital for startups in my previous job.
Yeah.
I felt really frustrated. I was connecting founders and investors and I saw so much value on founders and that I was introduced to investors and be out of the negotiation. And I'm like, I want to give them money. I want to help into those decisions.
Yeah.
So it was a natural transition for me that the next step I would be the one actually supporting them and being able to make that decision alongside the other people in my company.
Nice. So how did you get into the VC side? So you just applied for a job and you got the job, or was it that you studied about it first?
So personal branding.
Yeah.
I've been posting about VC for years.
Oh, okay.
So if you, a bit of a flex, but if you search for, like top VCs in Australia, my name shows up.
Yes, I've noticed.
And which is crazy, right? Because there's many VCs there that I aspire to be like, and I look up to them. But this is because I've been posting content about VC and explaining VC for founders for many years now. So when I applied for the job, I was like, hey, I come with this entire community of founders. They already trust me. They trust what I post. They trust what I say. When I talk about trends, they follow what I'm saying there. I give advice that they follow, and they post about it after and say like, Leila, you gave me that advice and this is what happened after.
Oh, that's sweet.
So good.
Yeah.
So this was my moat.
Okay.
This was my fair advantage.
So where does your social personality come from? Like, why did you start personal branding? Why did you start posting? And where did you develop the confidence to post on LinkedIn from? Like, I know you've been doing it for a very long time. How did that journey start?
I have such a crazy story about that.
Yeah.
So I didn't grow up speaking English. I've learned English 8 years ago when I moved to Australia.
Okay, where are you from otherwise?
Brazil.
Okay.
Yeah. So just spoke Portuguese my entire life. Moved to Australia 8 years ago to do an English course for 6 months.
Okay.
And then after 6 months, I was planning to go back home.
Okay.
And I decided to stay a little bit longer, started studying business, and it's a whole new vocabulary, right? I could already speak English after 1 year.
Okay.
But I didn't have the business vocabulary. So I started working on that. And because I was reading so much content about it, it was really fresh in my mind. The way that I learn is that I have to teach or I have to write about it. Otherwise, I don't capture that information. I don't remember after half an hour. But if I read something that I tell someone about it, I keep that information in my brain.
Okay.
So I was using LinkedIn as a personal blog. I had 3 likes. Probably my mom, sister, and
That's so cute though.
But I was literally just using that so then I could better learn. And then that started getting traction. And I started understanding my content much better.
Okay.
And then I saw, oh, this thing gets traction. So this is something that people are struggling with. So I understand founders' pain really well because of my content.
Yeah.
Because I've been posting for so many years.
Yeah.
And I know what they struggle with.
Yeah.
And because I know their struggle, I know how to create better solutions for them.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it all came together. It exploded around 3 years ago and became a top voice in VC and business in Australia. And I was like, oh, wow, this is actually taking off. And then I started this newsletter and I said, let's see if I can get 300 people. I'll be very happy. I think it's a pretty good number. And I had 4,000 500 subscribers in the newsletter in like less than a year.
Wow.
So I don't know why, but it works. I think that is the way that, again, because English is my second language, I get very complex subjects and I'm in the room with a lot of smart people.
Yes.
So now I post about my unique insights. Before was, this is what I've learned about VC in a book that I read. And now is, this is what you should know about taking a meeting with us.
Okay, yeah. And that's where the Substack articles come from.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. What I've been loving to do is going back to the first interview that I had with founders after we backed them. So now they're already backed. We already gave a check. We fully trust them. But then I go back to the first interview and I say, what did they say there that sparked my interest? Because it's in the first interview that the deal lives or dies.
Yeah.
I can say in that interview, we don't see fit and this is it, right?
Yeah.
It dies there. But what did I see on the first interview and what are the traits that they have in similar from all the first interviews of people that get funded?
What
so I'm
are
really,
they?
I'm loving to do that.
Yeah.
So I always see that there's something that they say about their personal life or personal achievements that that translates into success in business.
Okay.
So they always have something like Sam, for example, when he was 15, he got this prize #1 in the world in AI in engineering. And like Carly, that is one of the founders that we luckily invested in. She was the CEO of a space tech company before. And then she started looking at quantum computing. And she was like, I feel that all the ingredients are there. It's like a cake. All the ingredients are there, but the proportions are wrong. So the recipe is not going well. And I'm like, nobody ever talked about quantum computing in such a simple way. So she deeply understands what she's doing. And there was always an element of that. From the first interview.
So it's the backstory,
Yeah.
This makes sense. You know, there was this when I was giving my interview for Antler and James was interviewing me, I think. And he asked me this question that if you had, say, one question you could ask founders at an event to make a decision on whether you want to have a second conversation with them, what would be the question? And I said that I'd ask them, what is the most audacious thing you've done in the last month or so? And he said that can also help you understand how they see audaciousness. Like what to them is risky and what to them is audacious. What to the same thing to someone in VC who's heard multiple stories, it may not be the same. So basically getting that one understanding of how they think eventually helps.
What do you know about this problem that I don't? Like this is a really good question as well. So we hear the same ideas over and over. And that's not a problem necessarily. Very rarely you're going to pitch something that I never heard of before because of the volume of applications we have, right? So 5,000 applications, very rarely nobody's going to think in the same way. But there's one person that would be very well positioned to tackle that problem. And that's what is hard about what we do, because there's the pattern recognition part that is, we know what worked in the past and we should keep doing that. But there's also the outlier side that is somebody that is not doing any of that and it works out really well.
Yeah.
So there's this like little balance that we have to keep an eye on.
Strike, for sure. And you were saying that there are a lot of VCs that you look up to. Who are the ones that you look up to? Tell me about that.
Rachel Young from Giant Leap.
Okay.
I think she's amazing, and she's not only strong and really smart, but she's very kind as well. I love Jackie from Air3. I think she's posting amazing content about AI and how to invest in AI. She's building a lot of tools as well, which is not what we normally see for partners in VC firms, but she's deep down in it. James McClary from Antler.
Yeah.
I love working with James. If I could sit next to him for 8 hours every day, I would, like an intern.
He's so sharp. My God.
He's so sharp.
Quick. He was the way he was thinking. I'm like, wow, I want to think like that.
Same. And I'm like, how do you do that? He's like, you just do it. I'm like, no, for people like us.
He was small.
Yeah, but he's like incredibly sharp, and just being around people like that and understanding the way that they think, or just seeing the takes that he has when we're watching the same pitch, which questions he's asking, that's training my brain as well on how to ask better questions.
Yeah, for sure. Amazing. Now, I want to get to your insights about the struggles that you've seen founders go through. Now, I feel like there are different kinds of struggles that people from South Asian backgrounds, or maybe people who do not speak English as their first language experience, or who are coming in as migrants. So can you tell me about some of the struggles that you've noticed these people go through?
I've been through all of them as well.
Yeah,
So I understand
right.
it so well.
Yes.
You feel like you're not, that room was not made for you. Like so
Yeah.
many times you probably experienced that before. You're the only woman in the room, or you're the only migrant in the room. And sometimes they're asking, questions that you don't, you understand in your heart, but you struggle to put into words.
Yeah.
And you just look around. I never seen any Brazilian presenting at events, for example. So I never see anybody with my accent presenting at events. I've seen them work in the background,
Yeah.
not, at the forefront. So when I started getting invites, I used to take a month to even answer the email, because I was
Okay.
like, what if people don't like my accent? What if I don't like to watch myself after? What if I don't have the right words? And I would really struggle with that. And I see every other founder doing the same thing. Another thing I want to point out, I worked for a massive company in Brazil. When I would say the name, everybody would know. I went to a very good MBA in Brazil. When I would say the name, everybody would know. That means nothing here. If I say, I went to, I've done my MBA at ESPN, you're like, the TV? Like, what is the channel? Like, what are you talking about? Oh, I worked for Mercado Libre. Cool. What do they do? So it kind of like it strips all of this ego part of it, because you don't have those achievements to prove yourself as a person anymore.
Yeah.
It has to be something completely new.
Yeah.
I see that a lot with migrants that have English as a second language. I don't see that as much with Americans or English people per se, but I see that with English as a second language. So they are extremely qualified. They come from normally markets that value education more than experience or anything else. So they're extremely well educated. They understand the problem from the inside out, from a technical perspective, from the PhD type of perspective,
Yeah.
but they don't own the room.
How did you navigate that? How do you do that?
I think it's putting the reps in. And I think it's this like self-worth type of exercise as well, that at home you just work on that. And when you go somewhere, you say, I know that I'm really good at this. Like I can speak about this. I can do a TED talk with 5-minute notice, because I know this, and just own it.
Yeah.
I see with a few founders there from a more Asian background that it doesn't matter how much they do, it's never enough. And even the parents are like, when are you getting a job?
Yeah.
They're like, Mom, I just raised $1 million.
Exactly. Oh my God. That's the question my parents are hounding me with lately. They're like, oh, okay, so you're speaking to this person, you're speaking to this person, you're socializing so much. You will get a job eventually. I'm like, but I don't want a job. Can you
They're
just
like, what do you
accept?
mean? Are you going to be a lawyer or a doctor? Like you have
Exactly.
those two options. I see that a lot. And this
Yeah.
is something that they need to be aware of. And we kind of work on that throughout the cohort.
Okay.
But it is a challenge for us, right? And it's something
Yeah.
that we're going to face for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Again, that's why I feel that list of achievements is a really good exercise. So even once a week, like what is one thing that happened this week that made you proud of yourself? And then you just write that down. Because then you have this, your pattern recognition, let's call it. You know that you achieve all of that, you can achieve more versus just focusing on the things that you're not good at.
That makes sense. I'm actually going to create this list for myself today. And
Do it.
The interview with you goes as the first one. You mentioned something about feeling like the only woman in the room, in many rooms. I was speaking to Pooja recently about the same thing, and she told me about this concept where of leading with feminine energy. And what do you think of that? Tell me more about your perspective on
I
it.
spoke to her about it.
Okay. And
Yeah, I had a more Christian view on that.
Okay.
So I always thought about being feminine as being very delicate and weak and cute.
Same.
And I don't fit that profile. So like, how do I do it?
Exactly.
To be feminine, but not to be that weak. And the Christian view on that is that femininity is really strong.
Yeah.
And it's empowered, and it is, you know your values and you stand firm on that, but you also work really hard and you love your family and you love your friends, but it's all with a lot of intention and care and love. It's not this weak version of it, it's the opposite of that. So I had to reframe that in my head as well, to be like, oh wow, so I can be both. I can be a leader and I can work in VC and I can be in a room full of men without having to become one of them.
Yes, exactly.
And I lead the conversations in a different way. We're both looking for the same outcome. We're both gonna get there, but I don't want to get there in the way that they do, the way that they communicate. And I think there's such strong, there's such powerful, how can I express this? I think there's such power in the feminine energy. The way that we lead business, the way that we connect with people, the way that we communicate, and the way that we make spaces feel warm.
Yeah, that is what leading with feminine energy looks like. I was asking, give me an example of what it looks like, and she was telling me about her experiences. And I see that there are. Do you think that women who do sit at leadership positions too do also have high masculine energy compared to others, or do you think it does not matter? Does not matter at all.
I think you can have a very low stress job that you're not fulfilled and be masculine, and you can have a high stress job that you're achieving big things and it should be feminine. But it is something that it's hard for us because we cannot be what we cannot see. So if you don't see other women doing that, if you just see the women that gets promoted are the ones that are rude and don't care about anything else. It's just outcomes above anything else. You kind of strive to be like that.
Yeah.
And this is what TV shows teach us, right? Every time that you saw a strong woman, she was a bit ruthless.
Yeah.
It is not the only way.
Oh
I
my God.
refuse to accept it is the only way.
Yes. And now that I think of it, I just realized that the people in the industry here, so on my way on the tram right now, I was just thinking, I feel like the child of the Australian startup ecosystem. And all you people, all you kind of influencers, I kind of see you guys as LinkedIn influencers or influencers in the industry. I feel like I'm kind of being raised by you people because there's a lot of information everyone's passing down to me. And so now that I think of it, people like you, Sangeeta, Pooja, Ruhi, all of you are kind of leading with that example. You all are leading with feminine energy, with warmth, with care. And that is actually giving my generation inspiration. We're seeing what it could look like. And that's what's... I honestly look up to you. So that's what inspires us and gives us motivation to be more. Wow.
That's amazing to hear, because I remember when I started, I've done an interview a few years ago, and I said, I don't mind being the first as long as I'm not the last.
Wow.
So, if I'm the first woman doing this in these spaces, but I'm opening doors for other women so they can look at me and be like, oh, I can also achieve those things and I can also be that way. That would be a massive win. Yeah. So I made it now. Now that you told me that, I made it.
Amazing. Tell me about the Indian culture that you've experienced so far, because the community is a South Asian community of young entrepreneurs. I saw your pictures of at Dicky and Pooja's wedding. How was that? What was your experience like?
One more week there and I'll become a Ganguly myself. I was so loved by her family. And they were just so welcoming. The biggest takeaway for me, that the biggest even shock that I experienced, is how similar the Indian culture is to the Brazilian culture.
I was just about to ask
so similar. So Pooja and I always talked about community, how we do community completely different from the way that community is done in Australia. So community in Brazil is, my door is always open for you. You can come at any time. You don't even have to give me a call. And if you need it, just come over and I'll bake us a cake and we talk about your problems, or I make too much food so that you don't have to cook next week. And this is just a natural part of things. And if you have a baby, it's our baby. It's everybody's problems. And here's a little bit more structure. They have the community, but it's in structured environments. It's we meet once a week and this is your community, which is a little bit different. Yes. And in India, it's there's no boundaries. If you need us, we're here and you come at any time. And in Brazil, it's quite similar to that as well.
Oh, okay. And that was what you experienced there. And you know what? This actually exists. This is why especially the South Asian, like I'm mostly in that circle. That's why I saw it happening with them. They experience loneliness is because the lifestyle in Australia is an individualistic lifestyle. And that's not what we're used to. Like we're used to say, like in my friend circle, how I'd function is, okay, I don't feel like cooking dinner today. I call up my friend, Manisha, what have you made for dinner? Can I come over? And she's like, yeah, of course, I'm making this. I'll make a little extra. Let's call everyone and let's have dinner. And that I was experiencing that in my friend circle. But when I was going outside of it, I realized that not everyone is experiencing that.
But isn't it a blessing that we can be that for them?
Exactly.
You
It
know?
is.
Like, can you just cook something and give to your neighbors? Even though in the beginning they'll say like, this is really weird. But by second week, they'll be like, this is amazing.
Exactly.
So I feel that this is a really good integration that we can make. This is a part of our culture that we can bring here. Why don't we host more then? Why don't we say like, hey, come over tonight. I have enough food for the 10 of us or 2 of us or however many people are.
Well, that's a good idea. Okay.
I'll come.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay. But so if there was one advice that you had to give to entrepreneurs from that background, what would it be?
I think be true to yourself and to your culture. There's so much that you can add to the country and to whatever space you're in, and know what you're good at and really lean on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Focusing on our edge. Yes. We will do
your
that.
moat.
Moat. Oh, yes. That.
Bring the moat back.
For some reason, for the longest time, I was totally against using my unfair advantage. I don't know why. I felt like everything needs to be equal. If I have an advantage, I feel like I don't want to make it seem like I am going faster because I'm privileged. But I realized that we do not really have to see it that way. Even Pooja that day was telling me that people who are locals here have warm connections to no extent. They have generations of connections here.
Yes.
We are immigrants. We don't really. So if you have people who are able to open doors for you, take it. Do not try to go the hard way.
I think it comes down to knowing what you're doing and knowing your intentions. Do you have pure intentions? Do you have good intentions about this? Do you know that you're building something that is actually good? Why don't you want to expand this? Why don't you want more followers so more people can see what you're doing and you can make a bigger impact? You know, so when you reframe in this way, I see, not generalizing, but I see a lot of women doing that. So in the cohort, we see that very clearly. And again, I'm just generalizing. It's not always the case. But I had founders charging customers for products that were not even fully developed yet, but saying, is this a pain for you? I can fix that for you. I'll charge you $20K. And customers will be like, yeah, that sounds fair enough. And then I've seen women with fully developed products that they were like, no, but it's not perfect yet. And I don't want to, I don't want to take advantage of people. And I'm like, okay. Are you taking advantage of people? If they give you that money, you're going to run away? What's your plan? And you're like, no, I work so hard. I'll make this the best product I've ever seen. Cool. So you're doing for a good intention. You're doing the right thing. Do you want to help them? Yes. Okay. So would you charge for it? Like, yes, I would charge.
Getting from there to there is a journey. Yes.
You see the light bulb moment.
Yeah.
When I say those things and they're like, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, even for me, monetizing my initiatives took so long because I felt like not yet. I don't think I'm bringing enough value to the table to be able to charge for it. But being surrounded with these people that I'm currently with and talking to them. So one day I sent a message in the group. I created a form like, I am having trouble monetizing or understanding how much you value these events or the content at. Can you help me understand how much you'd value it at? And all of them replied. They actually filled the form and they told me how much they'd value it at. So that's really sweet. And surrounding yourself with those people, I feel like is so important.
Totally. There's this company we invested in called Indie, the Indie app. That is an app for parents that have kids with special needs. And they just track everything that happens so they have more ownership of their health and that they can show doctors and all of that. It's an amazing app. Check it out. So good. And the founders are amazing, like top A+ founders.
Okay.
And one of the things that they did was that we're truly doing this because it's a good thing for parents, but those parents are also struggling financially. How do we charge them? But then if we don't charge them, the company doesn't grow.
Yes.
So we cannot help more parents. So how much do we charge that is not putting them under financial stress, but also allowing the company to grow so that we can generally help more people? So they asked the community, they said, how much would you pay for it? How much would you feel comfortable? And then they gave a ballpark, and then based on the ballpark, they made the pricing right.
Oh, that's a good idea. Because I keep thinking like founders, they're already struggling with finances. Like I don't feel like asking them for money. But yes, eventually some monetization model needs to be. But you tell me about your mindset with money. You said even you were not monetizing your content. Tell me about why and what's your mindset with money.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the way that I started on LinkedIn was just for my own learning. And things happened so quickly that I never thought about that as a product. I never thought, how can I monetize this? And it was always going alongside my career. So I was in tech sales before, working for a company called Wholesale Investor. And in tech sales, you make commission. So the more people that I was achieving, through LinkedIn, the more trust I was building and the more they would buy from me because they trusted what I was putting there. So I'll make commission out of that. So I'm like, do I need to double charge them if the company is already paying my salary and pay my commission? Should I double charge founders? That didn't feel right. I always had like a few side business happening, like both in Brazil and here. So I remember like 5 years ago, I had this like pitch deck. I will make your entire pitch deck. So I'll get those complex ideas and I'll make it in a super easy way to understand based on the conversations I was having with investors.
Okay.
And back then, like pitch deck was a big thing. Now I don't think anybody would invest in you based on your pitch deck.
Yeah.
Another market.
Okay.
But back then it was like, what if we can increase the chances by putting the idea super clearly in a deck? And then that can help you at least to get the first meeting with investors. So I've done that for a bit. I do have a few plans to monetize in the future, but now the way that I truly want to get founders is because I can invest in them and then I can get the best founders, into the cohort, into the portfolio, and then they are going to grow the company. I have a carry on Antler, so if the business do well, I also get well paid for it.
Yeah,
so
perfect.
I feel that the incentives are aligned.
So it's like a pipeline for you.
Yeah.
Kind of. Nice. And you said that a pitch deck does not necessarily get people investing now. What does? What is it that people can do to be better at landing investment?
That's a great question. I think that everything helps. So having a big LinkedIn is going to get you investment? No. Does it help? Probably. Having a good pitch deck is going to get you instant investment? Probably not. Does it help to put the idea forward so that gets interest? Probably. So it's like a combination of different things. But if I had to summarize in one thing, it's definitely the founder and what is their unfair advantage, like what they know about the space that nobody else does, why they are so well positioned to win versus any other competitors that they have.
Okay, so them demonstrating that unfair advantage will get them places.
Yeah. So in the cohort, week 1, 2, I say just work on ideas and just present 10,000 ideas, like just present whatever comes to mind. And then after that, let's test the market and let's see if the problem actually exists. So if you can Google like mental health issues for teachers, like how often does that happen and all of that. So this is a general, let's call like the tier 1 type of problem. That is the one that you can Google. But from there, you start having conversations. And then you talk to the teachers in this example. And then you see how much they are spending on it, how much that is affecting their life. What is the current solution to that? How much money are they willing to pay for a better solution? What is important for them? And then you get all of those insights and you present to me 3 weeks after. That is really interesting. Like that's what I want to invest in, not what I could potentially Google as well.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah. I get what you mean.
So there's a tier 1, the problem that is like the Google, the ChatGPT version. And then we have the unique insights. These unique insights is what I'm interested in.
Nice. Thank you so much. This was a lovely conversation. I think we wrap up now. I've gotten so much out of this. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was
Thanks
amazing.
for having me. You're great at this. You're such a natural.
You.